Awesome.
All right, so we're joined from Long Beach, California, home of my man Snoop Dogg, Jamelle Nelson, founder of Nelson and Associates, CPA, out there in Los Angeles County. This is our business law class. I've got a class of all young men in here with me today, and we thank you so much for joining us. And we're also recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, my good friend April Majors over at Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us from out on the West Coast this morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great to be here. And man, thanks for inviting me. Happy to share some experiences and have an opportunity to talk to your students.
Yeah, and I know you have a presentation for us, and I don't know what all's on it, but I would love just to hear a little bit about your background for those of you
Yep.
for those of them that don't know. How about you went to you're originally from Los Angeles, went to the University of Southern California, which we all know for their great Heisman Trophy winners, all their great sports, pretty much across the board dominant. So we all know about their athletic prowess, but it is a great academic institution there in Los Angeles. And I always tell students that want to go to these big schools, we support them in that, but it's just a matter of putting in the work to get there. Because I had the unbelievable opportunity to go to LSU. And I always
Yep.
say, do y'all think I just went and knocked on the door and said, hey, let me in? So it really does, those things are possible, but it's a matter of getting yourself there in order to have that experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, most people know about USC from obviously the sports, the athletics, the football program. But what most people don't know is that USC has some of the top ranked programs in the nation from an academic standpoint. And just to kind of name a few programs that are high up there, you got the School of Business, you have the accounting program. The accounting program when I attended was the number one in the nation. You
Wow.
have the School of Film, which is one of the top one or two or three programs in the whole nation. You have the engineering school, so you can kind of go down the list, and USC, from an academic standpoint, is head and shoulders above most other programs out there. But most people don't know that. They kind of connect us to the sports. So, me personally, I didn't play sports. I didn't get a scholarship as an athletic person, but I did get an opportunity to get a actual real education, and that education has served me great well in terms of allowing me to be able to have the career that I've had and have my business. So that's what I'm excited to be talking about to the young men and really kind of give my background.
That's awesome. And you can share your screen whenever you're ready. But I did want to share that about USC because being a Saints fan, I was a huge fan of Reggie Bush, and I know he put on some fantastic memories there at USC. But at the same time, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about what a great institution academically it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I got a brief presentation that I want to kind of share and then kind of use the slide deck. So I will be sharing my screen and we're going to get straight into it.
Cool. We got it.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get it going.
We don't hear anything, but we definitely see it.
I'm sorry, Greg. Did you take in here?
Yeah, we can't hear it, but we
Okay.
see all of it.
Let me get this replayed one more time. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine.
All right. What about now?
No, I just still see it. But we can see
Okay.
it very
All
clearly. We
right.
just can't hear it.
We're about to get this right. Give me 1 second. Technology. About now?
No, it's still I've still got a still of you speaking.
Okay. All right. We're about to do this, Greg. I will shoot you this link on the back end and maybe you can
Sure.
kind of share the group
Sure,
real time.
absolutely. And we'll share that with the other teachers as well.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get straight into this deck. I actually had that as an intro to kind of show the students meet at a speaking event where I was actually speaking to other business owners who were considered six, seven figure, eight-figure business owners. And what I mean by that is these business owners are making 100,000, they're making 1 million, they're making 10 million, they're
Wow.
making 15, 20 million. So those individuals that I was speaking to and presenting to are learning from me how to run and operate their business from an accounting and a finance standpoint. And that's kind of what I do for a living. And what I want to do in terms of talking to the students and kind of what I want to share with them is that you cannot be what you can't see. And when I first was coming up in high school, I always knew that I wanted to be a businessman, a business person, but I just didn't quite know like exactly what that meant specifically until I had opportunities like this where I had introductions to other professionals that were actually doing the work, doing the career. And because of that, I had exposure, and that exposure led me to having interest, and that eventually escalated to me having goals.
That's
So
awesome.
you cannot be what you cannot see. And I want to let you all know that I am a certified public accountant, a CPA. And for those that don't know what that is an individual that is highly rated, highly ranked in terms of being able to provide financial guidance and expertise from an accounting standpoint. And it's not a lot of us out there. Very few
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
So that is my story. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am. So I am Jamelle Nelson. I am the founder and the managing director of Nelson and Associates, and Nelson and Associates is the company that I started.
All right.
And I have
Not to
about
stop you, but all we see on your screen is still that video.
okay, sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine.
Let me actually restart that screen because I
Sure, go
think
ahead.
let me restart it.
Okay.
All right, what about now, Greg?
No, let me do something. All right,
Maybe now.
all right,
Yeah.
now we can restart it. There we go.
Okay. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet. I have it enabled for you to share though.
Okay. Maybe that's what the issue is.
All right, I see it. Yep, I see it.
Awesome. All right. So we're about to do this,
There we
and you can
go.
still
All
see
right,
my screen
now,
now.
okay, I see. You can't be
Perfect.
what you've never seen. Love it.
Awesome. All right. So there we are right there, right?
Yep,
So
got
we
it.
already covered that. This is me, Jamel, 20 years of total experience. Um, I graduated from USC. We were talking about USC a minute ago. I finished at USC in 2008. So after I finished, I went on to work with KPMG, which is a major Big Four accounting firm.
Yep.
But as I mentioned earlier, USC was the number one rated program in the country. So we had the number one accounting program, and I was very fortunate. And not only did we have the number one accounting program, but we also had the number one football program during my time. I don't know if you guys are familiar. For us, Greg, we remember the
Yeah.
Reggie Bushes and the Matt Leinerts of USC. So I was fortunate enough to be on campus with those guys. I had classes with
Wow.
them,
That's awesome.
but they pursued their professional athletic careers, whereas I was pursuing my professional, academic, and actual career in accounting. So during that time, I actually attended USC, graduated, went to KPMG, and long story short, 20 years later, we're now running Nelson and Associates, which is a boutique CPA firm where we work with small businesses that are growing, that are expanding, as well as individuals. And we're helping these companies and these individuals manage their accounting systems, help out with their taxes, and help reduce their taxes so that they don't have to pay a whole lot. So that's essentially what we do. Um, in terms of what I want to discuss and kind of highlight real briefly is that discipline is better than talent. I don't care where you are, where you come from, what your background is. Most people that are the most disciplined are going to be the most successful. There's a lot of individuals that are talented, but they don't oftentimes use that talent to their advantage or use it the best way. But I can guarantee you, in my experience, those that are disciplined have the most successful outcomes. And then ownership is more better and greater than the popularity. And your skills, once you develop and work on your skills, those skills are going to actually far outweigh any shortcuts or any quick fixes. So success is not necessarily built, but it's something that it is built, but it's not something that's posted or something that we just kind of post on social media and appear as if it is a magical thing that happened. So one thing that I will say, even though I've had my background and my experience and my successes, I was never the smartest person. Never the smartest person in the room, but I was definitely one of the hardest workers and one of the most disciplined. And I will say that over time, that is going to enable me and put me in a position to be very successful from a financial standpoint as well as a career. So let's talk about accounting, Greg. Most people don't know
Yeah.
what accounting is or exactly what that is all about, but let me say this. There is an accountant for everybody that is considered an athlete. There's an accountant for everyone that is considered a rapper. Every rapper, every athlete has an accountant. Every business owner has an accountant, and every company actually has an accountant as well. And these
And if they
individuals.
don't, they're gonna be looking at some serious law breaking.
Exactly, exactly. So if they don't, what happens is they end up in trouble. And what trouble means is they are owing a lot of taxes. They owe the government a lot of money that they weren't expecting, or they're really surprised that they owe. Sometimes worst case scenarios, they can, if they have assets such as homes and boats and cars, those things can get confiscated if they're not doing what they need to do. And then in worst case scenarios, you have individuals that can actually go to jail. So even though I'm not an athlete, even though I'm not a rapper, like I said, because of my discipline and because I stayed focused, I was able to kind of create this career of an accountant where I now can actually work with these individuals and serve them and help them in terms of a financial guidance perspective.
Yeah, and I'm
So,
sure you're familiar with down in Argentina, Lionel Messi almost went to prison because of tax evasion, making
yep,
soccer money all over the world. And
yep.
it just goes to show you everybody's subject to it.
Exactly. And here's the thing, Greg. Most of these professional athletes, they don't intentionally do this. They just don't know that they need to do certain things. And when they're at that level of stardom and that level of popularity, they're making a lot of money a lot of different ways, and they're making a whole lot of it. And they're moving around really fast, and they don't have the time or the energy to really be educated on all of the subtle nuances of what they need to be doing from a legal perspective when it comes to their finances. So because of that, that's why it's really important for those individuals to be locked in with a professional to really guide them and give them the correct way of doing things. And more importantly, getting with the right professionals, because not every professional has the best interests at heart, right?
Yeah.
So what an accountant does, or what the accountant professional does, is that they actually will help protect you from losing your money. They're going to do things in terms of helping you grow your business. They're going to make sure you are doing things by the rules. They're going to make sure that you're making the right moves. And what a CPA does, a CPA such as myself, we are financial professionals, but we have a high designation of what the profession allows. So that's the highest license that you can get in the industry. And this is going to be short for certified public accountant. And what that requires is you having to go to college, finish your educational courses. After you finish college, you go and you work in the real world. And after you work in the real world for a certain number of hours, you actually can sit for an exam. And after you sit for an
Yeah.
exam, the exam is 4 parts. After you pass all 4 parts, you now get signed off by your company that you worked for to get all that experience. And now you have the ability to call yourself a CPA. So
Yeah, and
those are the individuals.
we have a couple of our alums that have done accounting programs. We got one over at Belhaven, which is a small private institution in Mississippi. We have a couple that have done accounting at Jackson State. our large flagship HBCU, and then Ole Miss. I'm sure you're familiar. I'm sure you've worked with some Ole Miss alums, one of the top accounting programs in the world, as well as Mississippi College here in the
Yep.
Jackson area. Great accounting programs for anybody looking to get into it, and it's a field not going anywhere. But I'll let you go ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned Jackson. I have a business partner who's actually a CPA, fellow CPA. He is one of my close peers, contacts, one of my best friends. He's a graduate of Jackson, and he did their accounting program or business program there. So definitely great exposure, great experience. So here's one thing that I want to highlight real quick. As an accountant, true accountant, we like numbers, we like statistics, Greg.
Yeah.
And I will say less than 2% of all professional or any athlete that is in college will actually get to the next level of college and play D1. Less than 2%. And of those individuals that are at the high level of B1 or college for that matter, in any professional sport or collegiate sport, less than 1% of those individuals are actually going to make it to the pros. And what that means is that a lot of us, when we're growing up, we say we're going to be a pro. We're going to be a pro football player. We're going to be a pro basketball player. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. That is great. But the reality is, unfortunately, not all of us are going to make it to that level. But I will tell you, if we don't make it to that level, we can definitely be pros in other areas. And I'm giving myself as an example as a CPA and accountant. That's another area we can be a pro at. And the benefit of being a pro in that area is that that is a lifetime career long opportunity. It's not just a 1 year deal, 2 year, 3 year contract. We have a skill set to last us for the rest of our lives. So one thing that I do want to like reiterate very clearly is that it's very great to have aspirations to be a professional in the athletics and the entertainment. But in reality, not all of us are going to make it to that level. And as a result, we have to have a fallback plan or we have to have a backup plan or backup strategy. And this isn't to kill dreams, but this is to add up the math and
Yeah,
let
and
everybody know what the real math is.
yeah, but that doesn't mean you still can't use that to advance yourself. We have another guest on this platform that works for the Mississippi Department of Corrections. He's actually was in this class earlier, but he played college football. He got a degree in accounting, and he was like, "Look, I knew I was good enough to play college, but I knew I wasn't going to the NFL. So I focused on using my football to get a free college degree, and my parents didn't pay anything. So it
Yep.
all depends on your strategy and how you look at it."
Yep. Exactly. So long story short, we want to play the long game and skills are definitely going to kind of definitely outweigh shortcuts. Um, so if you understand money, you control your future. Greg, this is what I teach our clients, and this is what I talk to a lot when we're doing these kind of conversations. Your credit matters, taxes matter, contracts matter, ownership matters. So fast money, it fades away, but smart money, it is going to last for a lifetime. So most businesses, most individuals, they don't necessarily fail because they had bad ideas. They just failed because they didn't really understand the numbers. And this is why I referenced earlier that a lot of the professionals that are considered athletes, rappers, a lot of them fail because they don't really have professionals in their corner, the right professionals kind of educating them and leading them the right way. But overall, if you understand your money and if you understand kind of how money works, you can definitely control your future.
Yeah, and it's funny how you say contracts matter because I know we all remember when DeAndre Jordan said that he was going to sign with the Mavericks and then re-sign with the Clippers, and Mark Cuban got mad, and we're like, people can say whatever they want. If there's nothing in writing that legally says I'm going to do this, there's nothing you can do about it. So I always thought that was the best example of people can say what they want, but until it's in writing, it's meaningless.
Absolutely. And that's how we operate and function in our business, Greg. We have every client, every business situation we're involved with, we have a contract, and that contract is thoughtfully written where it explains exactly what our responsibility is, what the client's responsibility is, expectations, so that if there's any disagreements, we go back to the agreement or the contract. And that's kind of a good way to kind of protect ourselves from both sides and both parties. So lesson learned, always have a contract if you have anything worth losing at
Yeah,
stake.
and I know you're not an attorney, but along the same lines, I know you've dealt with situations with last will and testament with people, and we've had attorneys on this platform talk about, unfortunately, in a lot of rural communities, people won't put things in writing, and then it turns into an ugly court battle, and nobody gets any money.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. We've seen some of the nastiest of the nasty situations, and unfortunately, sometimes it's with companies, it's with businesses, but a lot of times it's with families. And if there's no contracts in place, it can make it very nasty and it can make it very complicated. So even though I'm a CPA, we deal a lot with legal
Yeah,
contracts and aspects, and it's definitely something that is overlooked a lot of times, but should not be, and it's very important. Um, so this next piece that I want to touch on real briefly is discipline. And discipline, like I mentioned, I wasn't always the smartest or the tallest or the strongest or the brightest, but I probably was one of the most disciplined. And discipline is ultimately going to be influenced by who your circle is going to be influenced by what your habits are. And if you have good habits and if you have a good circle of influence around you, that's going to promote good discipline. And what does good discipline look like, Greg? Good discipline looks like, hey, I'm going to get up on time in the morning so that I can make it to school on time. I'm going to make sure that when that bell rings and I have to go to my next class, I'm going to be en route. I'm going to make sure that after class, I'm going to set aside time to study and do my work and assignments so I'm prepared for the next day. If I'm a professional or aspiring athlete, discipline means I'm making sure that I'm feeding my body the right things that it needs so that I can perform at the best position that I can. If I am studying for a specific test, I know I need to actually make sure that I put that time in. So discipline can be different things for everybody, but discipline is having a regimen, a routine, and having a circle around you to really influence and promote that. And at the end of the day, the thing that helps me stay disciplined, Greg, is that I have a last name. And for me, I have kids now. So with my last name and my kids, my goal is to make sure that I hold high my last name and hold high my family history, my family name. And with that, your name should mean something and stand for something. So discipline is ultimately going to be the catalyst to making sure we're on that right track. So in terms of what you need, what you don't need, I mentioned and referenced this a few times in my talk. We are all not going to be athletes. We're all not going to be professional athletes or rappers or anything in the entertainment space. But I can tell you this, we all have an opportunity to have a skill set and work upon
there
our
you go.
skills that's going to ultimately last us for a lifetime. And what I mean by lifetime is over the course of your lifetime, you're going to earn more than a lot of these professional athletes. You're going to earn a lot more than these professional rappers if you have a true skill set. So this is an accounting talk from a CPA. I wanted to kind of be real with you guys, break it down, and not necessarily get too technical with all the accounting because we can have that conversation at another time. But this is more so about really kind of giving you guys exposure to what this career is about, kind of how we help people, but more importantly, how we can like set up a good lives for ourselves. And it doesn't necessarily have to be CPA or accounting. Like we can have any specific career or trade that we're interested in, but know that anything is possible, guys. Um,
Absolutely.
so, Greg, I did want to at least leave my information in case folks want to get in touch with
Cool.
me. Here's my email, here's my website. But I don't know if we have opportunity for questions or if you
Yeah,
want
and
to drill some
and
questions.
they've handed me some, but there was a few I had, um, and that was some great information and some great quotes that I enjoyed seeing. But just talk about, because obviously the high earners are the ones dealing with the biggest types of taxes. But you mentioned about business owners, and I have a lot of kids tell me they want to be entrepreneurs. And I know every state is different. Some states, I'm not a tax expert, but a lot of companies, like you said, even small businesses, we've never needed them more than we need them now. they'll go out of business not because they don't have a great idea, but because they didn't pay attention to the books and they owed so much taxes to the government that they can't stay open. So why is it so important to be familiar with that, no matter what type of business you're going to have?
Yeah, that's a great point. And we see it a lot, Greg. One of the challenges with small businesses is that small businesses, when they are created and when they're getting started, they start out most of the time out of um, passion, out of, hey, I'm good at doing this, so I'm going to start this business. But a lot of times, these business owners, they don't look at running the business and operating the business like a real business. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to have a real business, you're required to have a accounting function. You're required to have processes in place. And a lot of businesses, when they get started, they're making money. They're excited about what they're doing. They're good at what they're doing, but they kind of leave the accounting stuff to the back end. And it doesn't become a focal point until a lot of times it's too late. And what I mean by too late is they start getting bills, they start getting notices, and they start getting fines. So one of the things that I recommend a lot of business owners do is to really look at the business and treat the business like a real business, not a hobby, not a passion, not something that they're good at, but treat it like a real business. And
There
if you
you
look
go.
at any company, Greg, any company that is of a large size, they have different departments, they have different titles and positions, and they all have accounting departments. And these accounting departments are what's keeping them on track, is what's generating their reports on a regular basis. So a lot of small businesses, they don't function or act like a real business a lot of the times until they're required to. And a lot of times that requirement is when they're getting notices or when it's time for them to grow and scale, or if they're trying to sell the business or operated at a level where they're trying to get a loan from the bank. And if they don't have their accounting and their finances in place, it's going to be very difficult to do a lot of those things. So at a certain point, they do transition and start to get serious, but the recommendation is to get serious from the beginning when the business is first an idea and gets created.
Awesome. Now, before I get to their questions, there's one more thing I want to talk about. And obviously, you know your numbers, but you're also a great communicator. So, how important is it to start building these communication skills? You know, being able to walk in a room and introduce yourself, being able to speak to, I'm not talking about speaking in front of thousands of people, but speak to a room of employees, speak to a room of clients. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, to speak to customers. So, they get so upset, even though these guys do a great job of presenting. And I know they hate doing it, but it's so important to learn that because you can't always talk like you're talking on TikTok. You can't always talk like you're texting. You've got to learn to be a professional with everybody all the time. So, why is it so important to learn that skill at 16, 17, 18 years old?
Very important because that's the most important skill you're going to need to learn, Greg, to be honest. Despite all of the credentials, despite all of the educational accolades, people are going to like you and trust you based on how you present yourself, how you communicate, and you never know who's watching you. And if you are an effective communicator and an effective speaker, um, that can put you in certain rooms, that can put you in certain opportunities. And that is a skill set that you must master. And for a lot of people, public speaking is a fear. It's, hey, for a lot of us, Greg, people our age, like people are timid and very, very
Yeah.
scared of public speaking. But I can tell you, you don't necessarily have to be a public speaker, but you have to be an effective and a confident speaker. And whether that's talking in a room of one people or a room of 100 people, whatever your situation is, just being comfortable speaking. And if it's something that you're uncomfortable with, I challenge you guys to push yourself and get out front and do the talking. And what helps me, Greg, is when I know my stuff and when I'm prepared, it gives
There
me
you
the
go.
confidence to speak with confidence. And if I am not prepared or if I don't know my stuff, then that's when the nerves start to really show. So, in order to avoid being unconfident and scared, I'm going to make sure that I know my stuff, I study, and I prepare.
All right, they've handed me some questions, and I'll get to as many of these as I can. I love this first one. This is Braylon Carter. He's in 11th grade, one of our JROTC members here at Velma Jackson. And he asked, what has been some good ways that you have used to market your business?
Awesome. Marketing my business, some good ways. I'll throw some quick ones out there. I will say reaching out to my family and friends, letting them know, hey, I have a business. This is what I do. If you know anybody interested, let me know. Another way is social media, obviously, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Those are my primary means of marketing. And what I do on those platforms, it may be a little different on each platform. But ultimately, it's kind of letting people know who I am, what I do, and how I can help.
Now, I like this one. This is Derek Mitchell. He's also in 11th grade, member of our drum line here at Velma Jackson. And he asked, did you always want to do this job, or was there a turning point where you decided to follow this career?
So when I was in high school, I was exposed to accounting, kind of similar situation. I was in a high school program and I had an opportunity to learn about accounting specific. But as I mentioned earlier, I always wanted to be a businessman or a business person growing up, but I just didn't know quite what route. So by getting exposed to an accountant and a CPA, that kind of opened up some ideas for me, and I just continued along that path. Now that I know I was going to have a business and start my own business, not always. I just thought I was going to work in accounting for a company. But over time, after I got some experience and got a skill set, I realized, hey, I can actually do this for myself as my own boss. And that's kind of how that transition happened.
Love it. Well, I got time for two more. This is Cameron Job. He's in 10th grade, one of our football, baseball, and track athletes here at Velma Jackson. And he asked, what the hardest part about learning accounting?
I will say the hardest part about learning accounting is that there's a lot of numbers involved, but understanding and learning that I had to learn how to study. And what that meant was I couldn't approach it like my English class. I couldn't approach it like my science class. I actually had to really focus and take advantage of my tutors, take advantage of talking with my teachers and professors to really like get questions answered if I didn't understand it. So really building a good habit of understanding how to like set up study pattern and rhythm. And I think you can apply that to any topic really, but I would probably say once I kind of figured that out, the learning and the opportunity became a lot more easier.
Yeah, and now and again, just from the outside looking in, there's never been more technology in accounting than ever before. There's
Yep,
so many accounting software, so a lot of the old time stuff we see, people like my stepdad that had to use the pen and paper. There's a lot of technology in there now, so it makes the job a lot more streamlined. So yeah, the number skills are there, but you got to have technology skills in this as well. Got
exactly.
one more. This is DeQuavian Black. He's in 10th grade, one of our football, basketball, and track athletes here. And he asked, what was it that brought you to where you are today through all the obstacles?
I would say having good family support. And unfortunately, not everybody have good family support. So I had family support and I also had coaches. I had mentors from church. I had teachers. Really finding good mentors and having those mentors kind of encourage me, speaking to me, and kind of motivate me. And is very, very important. This is why I said your circle is important. Like find individuals that you guys respect, find individuals that you guys admire, and find individuals that you guys look up to. Let them know that you're interested in being mentored, educated, and they will definitely take the time to kind of spill into you and pour into you. So those individuals kind of gave me the opportunity. And I didn't mention this earlier, Greg, in my talk, but I grew up in Compton, California. I grew up where the odds and the statistics were against me, but because I had these individuals and like a good, strong family support and good mentor support, regardless of where my community was or where I grew up, I was able to ultimately make it out and kind of do what I've done. So it doesn't matter where your background is, it doesn't matter where you come from, but what's most important is really what your mindset is and kind of what you are going to talk to yourself and tell yourself you're going to do and who you're going to be. That's definitely going to outweigh your environment and where you come from ultimately.
Yeah, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And I didn't know you were from Compton. I got to get my friend LaShonda King in Oakland in contact with you, who's also from Compton. I think y'all have a really similar platform. So just look for that later. But we're almost out of time. And we thank you so much for taking some time for us. But before we go, I just think it's important that, with it being Black History Month, it's a time to celebrate so many great Black leaders that we've had over the decades and that we continue to have. And I always tell people, um, Black History Month is about promoting these people that for so long never got credit. And it really is a time to think about how people can follow in their footsteps. And look, I've got all young men in here with me today, and I've got a lot of talent, I've got a lot of intellect. But unfortunately, over the years, being I've been teaching 13 years now, I have lost too many black students, black male students, to either gang violence, gun violence that are now buried. I've got way too many that have been incarcerated, and it's not that they were bad. It's not that they didn't have opportunity. It's because they made bad decisions, or maybe like you said, they got in with the wrong people. There's so many dreams of the only way I can make it out is to do this. And look, I'll be the first to tell you, I get frustrated when I hear people say they see a young black male and they think all they can do is be an athlete. They think all they can do is be a rapper. There's never been a better time ever in the history of our country to make something of yourself than right now. We need more strong black men in our communities across every field. And look, I know I was joking at the beginning. I know Long Beach is the home of Snoop Dogg. I'm a huge fan of his. Even my mom's a huge fan of his. But everybody can't be him. But everybody can be something positive. And like I've got six black men in here with me today that can be positive black male leaders. Why is it so important that they realize that they are needed to be positive leaders and not products of their environment, no matter what their environment is?
It's very important because people are watching you. A lot of us have young brothers, a lot of us have young sisters, a lot of us have nephews, nieces, kids we're mentoring. So they're watching. And what you do, you might not know or realize, but they're watching. And it might be 5 years, it might be 10 years from now, where they make a decision because they saw you doing it or they saw you kind of acting in that manner or way. So whatever you're doing, always remember that it's not necessarily impacting just you personally, but it's impacting your family, it's impacting your community, it's impacting your overall environment. And people are always watching.
All right, we just went to lockdown drill, so we'll have to end it up. But again, we thank you so much for joining us, Jamelle Nelson, all the way from Long Beach, California. Talk to you soon, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Take care.